Lucy, I know you're there, and I know that there are days like these when all the memories and all the pain's too much to bear.
That is extremely inspiring, and if you actually listen to the words of Lucy, it is about a girl who he is encouraging to make most of her life. And that is a theme that's running through what people make of their lives and get out of a rut that they're stuck in or deal with a crucible moment.
Lucy, love is to live.
Tonight is a very special night. It's a birthday for Lee. It's also the birth of her book, which she thought about 12 months ago. And this 12 months that Lee's done of writing a book, researching, first interviewing 12 women, who then recommended other women, who recommended other women. So she then interviewed 100 women and inspiring men to write this book. And I really admire her for that. So Lee, it's awesome that we're here today celebrating your day.
I didn't expect to be writing a book, I have to say, so a couple of years ago, and it was a couple of years ago that this kind of came to mind. I had a wonderful guy in my life, a coach, that said to me, Lee, there's a book within you. And that was Jonathan, who I'm now engaged to. And he said, what would that book be? And I thought long and hard about it, and I thought, it's got to be about inspiring women leaders, but it's got to be transformational. It's got to be inspirational. And I think the challenge that I had out there was that there were so many voices in the system, so many power women. And actually, I thought it probably related to maybe the 5% of women that are out there. But how do you tap into real women and real stories and real inspiration that would capture the hearts and minds of many? For me, this is not a gender agenda. This is an agenda around inclusion, and this will come through really strongly in my book. So what was important for me to kind of highlight was that this is about us moving forward now, not sticking with some of the language that we've been caught up in that hasn't taken it to that next transformational level.
We're delighted to host this event tonight. And I think anybody here that knows me reasonably well knows how much I care about this subject of getting women into leadership positions. The logic of it is, and the theory of it is obvious, and has been proven many, many times, and it's not just about fairness, it is about getting the talent, getting the real talent optimized in any form of life. And we've been trying to do our own little bit from an RBS perspective as a role model ourselves, and then using ourselves perhaps through our contacts to be able to influence business in particular. Inspiring women to be able to take those steps forward and giving them role models and giving them advice as to how to do that is all part of knocking down the barriers that cause the imbalances that are there today.
When I reached out to the network, I said, who's inspirational? Who's inspired you? And who has words of wisdom and learning that they can share with me so I can capture the essence of that in the book? And that's what I believe I've captured. It's not about the power. It's not about telling women to kind of, push themselves forward. It's about true words of inspiration. And I think that this is something that we really need in our world today, is more inspirational leadership and not just powerful leadership. I wanted to underpin it with some science. So if I'm writing about the soul, I wanted to capture the data that actually reinforced the importance of inspirational leadership. And that's where we brought in Dr. Reuven Baron, who is the most amazing guy in his field. He's a leading psychometrician around the world.
We created a test that has 8 components that test the 8 key areas of inspiring leadership. After looking at 1,200 people, we found out that there is a significant difference between inspiring leaders and leaders that are not that inspiring. The really big finding was that we were looking just at inspiring leaders. There is absolutely, we say in statistics, no significant difference between inspiring male leaders and inspiring female leaders.
If I were to highlight some of the key findings and my observations from the women that I did interview, I really learned huge amounts from these women, which I will take away with me moving forward. And I think anybody that does read the book, man or woman, will find the same kind of inspiration. This goes back to authenticity, and that's been clear. I think the people that have lost their sense of authenticity in order to squeeze themselves out of shape, to fit with a culture and an agenda and something that is so, that's not diversity. The women that really inspired me and that stood out for others as well had found their authentic selves and found the courage, secondly, the courage to be their authentic selves. And it helped them to make choices and set boundaries about what they wanted to be, who they wanted to be, and how they wanted to be. I would like to invite some women up to the stage just to give you a flavour, because I don't think this needs to come from me.
For me, this was a real personal part of my journey, and for me it was probably the decision I took a few years ago to come out at work. I took a real understanding of my responsibility of being a role model to others, to truly be themselves and be authentic, whatever their story is, but just to be themselves. And since I did come out with the support of people like Chris, actually that I can be myself, but more importantly, I can support others in being themselves.
If you meet someone who's emotionally intelligent and gives you the confidence to step forward, you begin to step forward and feel more confident in yourself. We all have it in us, but when we decide to step forward and be emotionally intelligent and use that skill set that sometimes is a latent skill and we need to bring it back to life, then we have an opportunity to pass that on to other people.
I do think it's about really realizing that the strengths that you have within you, no matter how trivial many might think they are, actually play an enormous role in the business that you're doing, and being true to those is not a bad thing.
Yeah. I was recently nominated for Asian Women of the Year in the Young Achiever category, and it was then that I felt there was a bit of a turning point in my life, because rather than be on this constant search for, female role models, women in leadership, I realized that actually I was one of them. Rather than wait till you get to the very top to send down that lift for the rest, I feel that my purpose and my journey is all about bringing those people with me.
We are generating some really wonderful propositions for women to help to kind of move the agenda forward in a transformational way, and at the same time making a difference to kind of charitable projects and things that we need to be thinking about, which is the legacy component. So what's the legacy we're leaving for our next generation? Myself and Isabelle Santois have set up something to help to bring women together in an amazing opportunity. The Force for Inspiration is one of the new programs. We're combining inspiring leadership with an event that really brings women together, a retreat that pushes the boundaries around health and well-being, pulling all of these components together, and at the same time underpinning it with a charitable component.
We want to bring women to try to experience, to push their comfort zone, to push their limits, so that they can find confidence in themselves, and then they can find this, what I call equilibrium, between work, family, and find the time for themselves.
I've got one final speech, and it's just from an amazing woman that I have met. Her story is in the book. It's the last story that's in the book. And when I say that these women talk about their rawest moments, they do. These stories are from the heart. And so, Kezzy Silverstone, I'd like to invite you to the stage, because in terms of somebody who captures the essence of legacy, it certainly comes through in Kezzy. So no matter what life throws your way, there's something that can come out of it as a result.
My journey has been somewhat colourful and challenging, but some of that journey is what defines me as a person. A childhood raised in care, with no permanent roots, no knowledge of the whereabouts of my parents, made it hard for me to flourish. Loss was always the toughest part. Forming relationships with families, only to be wrenched from their arms, was always the cruelest test. The Kezzy Silverstone Trust teaches children to value themselves when others have made it hard for them to do just so. Our past doesn't always have to define our future. Find a way to channel the negatives and turn them into positives.
by God, there's amazing people that are out there that are willing to support, and I've certainly seen this in the very start of my journey. Get networking, it's an amazing opportunity. I think the room is filled with inspiration. Reach out to each other. Thank you.
Yes.